Joining us now is one of the members of Congress that was in that room, Georgia Republican Congressman and member of the House Judiciary Committee, Doug Collins. Congressman, welcome back to the show.
Always good to be with you, Sean.
You know, Lindsey said that they were out for blood. I think a mosquito could have gotten more blood than they got. Bill Barr came prepared, and he smacked them down.
Oh, he played them well, and the thing about it is they weren't out for blood. They were out for a soundbite. They were out for a political hit on the Attorney General because they wanted to get the Attorney General so they could get at the president. Make no mistake, for 18 months, 19 months, you've been dying to get Bill Barr here, and this is what you do with it. You answer questions. You say, I'm losing my temper. Ooh, you know, these are the kind of things where you get other members say, you're not asking questions to get an answer. You're asking questions to hear yourself. This was nothing but a political soundbite. It could have been done at the DNC just as easy, and Bill Barr never had to show up.
You know, speaking of soundbites, you had a great one because the Democrats, as you say, were trying to figure out how they could get their soundbite. They're accusing them of everything. I want to play the soundbite for the audience of how you reacted to this.
I'm beginning to believe, frankly, that you're probably that just hadn't come out yet, probably will in a little bit. You're probably the cause of the common cold and, you know, and possibly even the COVID-19. I'm not sure at this point because everything's been thrown at you, including now, undoubtedly, your alma mater doesn't like you anymore.
Congressman, they even at one point, I think it was Steve Cohen from Tennessee, started bringing up the fact that, quote, his people were responsible for Jeffrey Epstein's death. I mean, you were right. They were blaming him for everything.
Oh, it was really amazing, and it was really sad. This is not what the people expect of Congress. They expect at least, you know, questions to be asked, answers to be made. When Bill Barr had to remind the Democrats that the whole purpose for a witness is to testify on their own behalf, that shows you how far off we get. I guess, you know, look, it's just become a circus. I've sort of dismissed it as that. Steve Cohen was missing his chicken yesterday, the bucket of fried chicken he brings in. Look, the Democrats' decorum was terrible. Bill Barr handled it perfectly. He handled it as an attorney general should. And, you know, they answered the questions when they would allow him to. And he gave good answers about why this is happening the way it is. And he also, again, I believe that the real reason they don't like the attorney general is he's actually getting to, he is the one who has taken their smoke and mirrors and unplugged the smoke machine, broken the mirrors on this whole Russian issue because he's getting back to what they have built their whole campaign against the president on and saying it was all complete bunk and everything they've done up so far was just a waste of time because they built it on a false narrative.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that came up that I thought was interesting is he was asked about this Durham report where one of the U.S. attorneys is looking into what happened to the FBI's investigation into Russia. He said that he might release it before the election, but he didn't commit to it. I think he should release it. This should be an issue that the American people are aware of before they go to the polls. Don't you think that this should be released prior to the election so we have as much information to vote on as possible?
Oh, if it could be released today, release it today. And because I don't think it's going to be a report, Sean. I think that's one thing we have to remember. I don't think that Durham's writing a novel like Mueller filled with, you know, his own interpretations. What Durham is doing is looking for indictments. And so I think that if the crime is a crime and they've got enough for the indictments ought to come down. Because remember, what we're dealing with here is not something that happened this year. We're dealing with interference in the last presidential election. People need to know that the corrupt cabal over there at the Justice Department was dealing in Canada Trump and then trying to derail the first part of the administration, which you remember so vividly, that they were trying to derail it. We need that information out, and if an indictment's coming, it needs to come out now.
Absolutely. You know, the chairman of your committee there, Jerry Nadler, was asked the day before the hearing about Antifa. I want to play you what he was asked and what he said about Antifa and get your reaction.
It is true. There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa that's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
Congressman, you're from Georgia. Is this a myth from Washington, D.C.?
No, this is not a myth. What is a myth right now is that Chairman Nadler knows how to run the Judiciary Committee. That's the myth. And he's been doing it now for 18 months. I had to sit right next to him as ranking member for most of that time. For him to say that what's going on in Portland and these other cities where Antifa is running wild, these riots and these criminal lawlessness is taking place, is a sad commentary on the state of the Democratic Party and a very sad commentary on the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, who should know better. If he believes this is a myth, then I would encourage him to get in on a plane and go to Portland. Or better yet, let's take up some of the members who wanted us to travel to Seattle, to Portland, to others to see these, quote, peaceful protests. They're not happening, and they're not going to do it. But if this is what he truly believes is happening, maybe it's time for him to be something else besides chairman of the Judiciary Committee.
We talked a lot about the fireworks that went off there, the accusations. You had a great soundbite about all the things the Democrats said. One thing that was said afterwards was by Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She was on MSNBC with Ari Melberg, and she said that the Attorney General was a blob, right? This isn't something conservatives are used to having to defend, but it seems like Nancy Pelosi and Ari Melberg of MSNBC were fat-shaming the Attorney General. Is that out of line?
Let me ask you this, Sean. Is it out of line for the Speaker of the House to call the federal officers stormtroopers? And do like that? I mean, when you're invoking imagery from the military wing of the Nazi Party, when you're doing so in a way and nobody's rising up saying, why does she do this? Nobody's calling that into question. It just shows you how in the pocket the mainstream media is to the Democratic Party and Nancy Pelosi. She can say whatever she wants to say, even as inflammatory as something like that. And that's what you get from her. And then she wants to go after the physical appearance of the Attorney General. Speaker Pelosi, again, there's so much that needs to be changed, and the Speaker should be one of those that needs to be changed. But this is just unbelievable that you could talk about something like that and connotate those kind of images against the men and women who serve our country in the federal service. That's shameful.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you on this. I think the question you ask is spot on. What would it take for the media to be outraged by something that Nancy Pelosi said? Let me switch topics for a second. The top CEOs of big tech are up on the Hill. You've been shadow banned. You've been everything that's been bad about conservatives taken on against big tech. But you were one of the leaders that called for this hearing in the first place. You're on the committee. You're no longer ranking member, so you're not ex officio. But I know you wanted to be part of this hearing. What did the Democrats say when you asked to be part of this hearing? Because you were there at the beginning leading this effort.
Exactly. We were the ones that actually started this with Cicilline and the chairman and others, and they just didn't want us there because, number one, they don't like me. They don't like my questions. They know that I get to the heart of the issues, and they also don't like the fact that I actually want to see something done. I think using antitrust against the Facebooks and Google and Apple and Amazon and even Twitter as well, is something we need to do. And the reason you do it, Sean, is you use antitrust because they're competitive marketplace advantage, especially in the social media sites. Then it allows you to get at Section 230, which allows them to do exactly what you just said, shadow ban, censor the president, censor me, took me offline for 36 hours a week and a half ago. We get to Section 230 and we start rolling that back, then you'll see them become more and more in control of what they have. They are a media company. They cannot say they do not promote content, that they make content, because they decide what goes up and what goes down arbitrarily on their sites. Media sites such as yours and papers and other things in this country can't do that. Section 230 gives them an unfair advantage, and it allows them to push political agendas onto the American people.
We needed you in that hearing because you're going to get something done on this. For too long, we've complained, we've talked about it. We need to get things done. You're the right guy to get this done, and it's a shame they wouldn't let you in there. So thanks for your efforts on this. Thanks for filling us on the committee. And it's a shame that the Democrats wouldn't let someone like you in that hearing.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, we're going to keep fighting. Don't believe me. They may be able to keep me out of the room, but they can't keep me from talking.
That's what I like to hear. All right, Congressman, look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks, Sean. Take care.